In this presentation, we are going to see about the prose piece from Coleridge written by John Stuart Mill. John Stuart Mill profoundly impacted the shape of the 19th century British thought and political discourse. He was most widely admired for his work in theoretical philosophy and political economy. However, Mill's greatest philosophical influence is in moral and political philosophy, especially his articulation and defense of utilitarianism and liberalism. His substantial collection of works include texts in logic, epistemology, economics, social, political philosophy, ethics, metaphysics, religion, and current affairs. Among his most well-known and significant are A System of Logic, On Liberty, Utilitarianism, The Subjection of Women, Three Essays on Religion, Principles of Political Economy, his autobiography. Jeremy Bentham developed a quantifiable method for determining what was beneficial and what was harmful. He called this method utilitarianism because its basic unit, the util, acted like a monetary unit. The theory of utilitarianism has been criticized for many reasons. Critics believe that it does not provide adequate protection for individual rights, that not everything can be measured by the same standard, and that happiness is more complex than reflected by the theory. Mill's essay represents his attempt to respond to these criticisms and thereby to provide a more complex and nuanced moral theory. Bentham's disciple, John Stuart Mill, modified this system to include human rights. His harm principle is an outstanding element in his statement about utilitarianism. Utilitarianism by John Stuart Mill is an essay written to provide support for the value of utilitarianism as a moral theory and to respond to misconception about it. Mill defines utilitarianism as a theory based on the principle that actions are right in proportion as they tend to promote happiness, wrong as they tend to produce the reverse of happiness. Mill defines happiness as pleasure and absence of pain. He argues that pleasure can differ in quality and quantity, and that pleasure that are rooted in one's higher faculties should be weighted more heavily than baser pleasure. Furthermore, Mill argues that people's achievement of goals and ends such as virtuous living should be counted as part of their happiness. John Stuart Mill's view on liberty is that the individual ought to free to do as he wishes unless he can harm others. Individuals are rational enough to make decisions about their well-being. Government should interfere when it is for the protection of society. Samuel Taylor Coleridge is the premier poet critic of modern English tradition. He also has a reputation as one of the most important of all literary critics, largely on the basis of his Biographia Literaria. In Coleridge's views, the essential element of literature was the union of emotion and thought that he described as imagination. He especially stressed poetry's capacity for integrating the universal and the particular, the objective and the subjective, the generic and the individual. He was not interested in judging writing by current standards. Conventional was concerned to test and modify by the light of reason. According to John Stuart Mill, there are two men to whom their country is bound, not only for the greater part of the important ideas which have been given into circulation among its thinking men in their time, but for a revolution in its general modes of thought and investigation. These men are Jeremy Bentham and Samuel Taylor Coleridge, the two great seminal minds of England in their time. Mill begins the essay by glorifying the contribution made by Coleridge for the change in the inward thinking on the mind of the people of his age. He adds that, similarly, Bentham has also impressed deeply the opinions by his philosophical meditation, and he acknowledges Coleridge's significant influence in shaping the opinion of young men. He considered Coleridge as one of the greatest awakeners of philosophy within the confines of traditional opinion. Stuart Mill sees both Bentham and Coleridge as influential philosophers who worked for the society and the people. He says that many established and ancient or received opinions that says that many established and ancient or received opinions that have been followed was questioned by both. Bentham questioned the received opinion by standing out of the ideas and analyzed it as a stranger. Coleridge considered any doctrine, opinion from within. He tries to understand and accept the rules, believed it, and raised questions from within and inspect it. Why an opinion was so suggested and why it has been followed continuously and what credibility it has. Bentham, on the other hand, did not question deeply into what that opinion or proposition meant by, whereas Coleridge felt that if any theory had been followed by whole nation or generation, then it was part of the problem to be solved. Bentham refers all the theories to be result of the selfish interest of aristocracies or priests or lawyers or impostors. He considered that existence of any opinion for a long time as an assumption, but he also accepted that it's not completely a false one. At least to its first author, it was the result of struggle, and there might be some reality to it. But he feels that there is no reality in it if people follow it as a mere tradition. He thinks that if we dig down to find the truth in a belief or opinion, we cannot find truth. They are just formed to satisfy some human nature. From this difference in the points of view of the two philosophers, Stuart Mill is of the view that Bentham continually missed the truth in the traditional opinion, but they assist, support each other by showing the way of finding much of what the other missed. Mill believed that it is difficult to mention Coleridge and his status among his contemporaries without referring to Bentham. They are related by two of the closest bonds of association, resemblance and contrast. Their philosophies are exactly the contrary of one another. Their handling of subject is in a completely different way. There is scarcely a principle or a premise which is common to both of them. Bentham would have considered Coleridge's philosophies different from his own. Coleridge would have considered Bentham as one of the exceptions who differ in his opinion about liberal appreciation. Mill sees some similarities in them. That is, they two of them stress the necessity of philosophy by precept and example. They both didn't agree any idea for granted. Before accepting any proposal, they examine it thoroughly and make sure that it possesses the kind and degree of evidence suitable to its nature. They both believe that sound theory is the only foundation for sound practice. They use different materials, but as the materials of both were real observation, the genuine product of experience, the result will in the end be found not hostile but supplementary to one another. If a book were to be compiled containing all the best things ever said on the rule of thumb, school of political craftsmanship, and on the insufficiency for practical purposes of what a mere practical man calls experience. It is difficult to say whether the collection would be more indebted to the writings of Bentham or of Coleridge. The two men are each other's complementary counterparts. The strong points of each correspond to the weak points of the other. Whoever would master the premises and combine the methods of both would possess the entire English philosophy of their age. Stuart Mill concludes by saying that Coleridge used to say that everyone is born either a Platonist or an Aristotelian. It may be similarly affirmed that every Englishman of the present day is by implication either a Benthamite or a Coleridgean. Holds views of human affairs which can only be proved true to the principles either of Bentham or of Coleridge.